Hey, everybody, welcome inside the sit down. Ryan Mayer, now joined by the director of Space Jam, A New Legacy, Malcolm D. Lee. Malcolm, thanks so much for taking some time today. Just first off, take me through it. What made you want to get involved in this project following up at 25 years now after the original Space Jam with this new version?
I was approached by the producers and Warner Brothers to come on board. I never really saw myself, doing a hybrid movie like this. Basketball is like a big, huge passion of mine. I was wanting to do a movie more like, He Got Game or Love and Basketball than, something like Space Jam. But the opportunity to play on a very big canvas, to play in a different sandbox was kind of hard to pass up, even though I was a little intimidated by it. But once I got over that fear and a lot of encouragement from friends and colleagues, it was like, okay, well, these are just storytelling tools that can help me achieve my vision.
And with this particular movie, I mentioned, obviously, we all remember the iconic original with Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes, now bringing a new flavor to it with LeBron and that same Toon Squad. Just how did you strike that balance a little bit? Because I know there are some nods to the original and the fact that it happened within the universe, but also at the same time, establishing the fact that this is its own story and building on, as the title says, its new legacy.
Well, we had to do it. I think there's a lot of love and nostalgia for the original, and we had to set ourselves apart. Just like LeBron has done, in his career, we want to do the same thing with the movie, and take advantage of all the cutting edge technology that's available to us. That wasn't available 25 years ago. Yes, there were hybrid movies, but not on the level that we are now, where you've got movies like Avengers and Star Wars and Toy Story that are just like really stretch the imagination. So we wanted to take advantage of that. And for me, it was really the father-son story at its core of this movie that really attracted me to it. LeBron and having the schism with his son Dom about what he should pursue and what Dom really wants to pursue, and being yourself and doing you. All those things were very resonant for me, and I thought that was something. Well, besides all of the the spectacle that's going to be in this movie, I can bring something to the table with that.
And you speak about that father son dynamic, and that's something that really is so central to this film. And I wonder for a guy like LeBron, who has shown himself to be a very big family man across all of his social media handles as we all follow along, just what was it like talking to him and getting him to bring that side of him to set? Or was he already doing it and anticipating that?
I think it was a little combination of both. At some points, it was like, oh, he was feeling a little too tough on the kid. But you have to uh, put him someplace where he has to be able to grow and have an arc to his story. And so I think it's more shocking for audiences than it is for LeBron to bring up that side of himself and say, okay, like, hey, this is not how we do things. We got to do this. I think he was being more teammate and captain of the team than he was a parent at that particular time, because he is a very lovable, loving, playful dad. And so, getting him to do that wasn't very difficult at all. Because I think, LeBron was game to do pretty much anything. He wanted to be great. He wants the movie to be great. He loves being funny. He loves to be directed. So it all kind of worked out, in the right way. And I love directing actors. And I think he definitely has some acting chops.
Now, you spoke about the fact of this being that hybrid style of movie, right? We have some animated characters, of course, with all of the Looney Tunes and everything that comes with that, but also the real life people involved as well. So for you as a director in those scenes where they're interacting with each other and you're obviously not necessarily seeing Bugs Bunny standing right next to you, how do you bring that acting and emotion out of them in that way? I've always been curious about that with these style of movies.
Yeah, I was curious too and when I got there, I understood the process. It was, and sometimes there's like just a cardboard cutout, get the exact right height. Then, like, once he understands what that is and what the editor will understand when you shoot it as a reference, you say, okay, like, let's put a little stick there with with the little character's face on it, with their right height as well. And then after a while, LeBron didn't need it. Like, I know what I'm looking at, where I'm looking, all that kind of stuff. And I think all actors at some point, and certainly athletes too. They have to use their imagination. They have to pretend like, what athlete hasn't, like, as a kid said, 3, 2, 1, buzzer beater, right? What actor hasn't, like, had an imaginary friend, or pretend to pick something up, in pantomime. So I think it's just imagination on another level.
And with this movie, there's so much fun and excitement that we saw the same way in the original. Obviously, a different storyline, but I wonder for you, what are some of the moments that maybe stood out from those days on set where everybody was working together towards this vision that's now coming out here in theaters?
You know, it was a tough thing, but I mean, it just felt like once we all kind of came together, um, between myself and my director of photography, we knew what we wanted to do every day and how we wanted to attack it. And everyone, followed suit. And there was a great support from costume and makeup and hair and production design and, grips and electric and background talent. So nothing really said like this. All the scenes, I were a challenge, but they were also exciting to be a part of, because here I was thinking that, oh, I'm not gonna really be able to do the basketball movie that I really want to do, but it kind of was.
Yeah.
There's some amazing, like, athletic prowess that happens in there. There's some great plays that we tried to run, and it's exciting. We building to the climax of the very end, and making sure that there are stakes and that there are cliffhangers and lean forward ability. Those were all, like, great things for us to be able to build and to make.
And speaking of those basketball moments throughout the course of the film, obviously a lot of them, without giving anything away, are these huge moments, right, for these characters. And you speak about the athleticism involved. Uh, how was that on set, getting some of that imagination at play as well as the traditional basketball? LeBron's used to doing everything on a court, but there is some imagination there at play with what's going to be happening in the overall scheme of things.
Yeah, no, look, we took LeBron up in, like, harnesses and stuff, and flew him through the air. I mean, he can jump, but he can't jump as high as we were making him jump in this movie. And there's so much that goes into this level of filmmaking. And you have to be patient, and you have to also be rushing and making sure and have urgency. So it was a real joy to see it all come together at the end. But the journey was tough.
We've spoken a lot about LeBron and what he brought to this movie. I want to talk a little bit about Cedric as playing Dom, LeBron's son, and the interaction there between those two, because I know I've read in interviews that Cedric is a big LeBron fan himself. He's a Lakers fan, and I'm sure there were some of those moments initially when he first got it that there was a little bit of starstruck that maybe set in. But just once you got them going back and forth, what was that chemistry like? What was it like seeing that from your seat?
I tell you what, first of all, Cedric Joe is a great young actor. I love working with him. He's got a magic smile. He's got, depth as an actor. And he and LeBron's relationship was fantastic. I mean, LeBron loved him. He loved LeBron. He was always trying to challenge LeBron to some basketball. Tell him how nice he was. LeBron was like, "Get out of here, kid." And so, like, they really had, they always, greet each other with, like, these amazing handshakes that I still never got a good handshake from LeBron. I never got the magic. I'm gonna beg him for one at the premiere. But LeBron is such a kind of a big kid himself, and so he and Cedric got along so well. And Cedric, you could tell, like, idolized LeBron. But at the same time, it was like this great, respectful relationship between the two, and it was beautiful to see, beautiful to watch.
You mentioned some of those competitions that Cedric was trying to get LeBron involved in. Was Don Cheadle getting involved there as well? Was there multiple people involved in that action?
No, Cheeto knows what lane for him to play in. Although, even though he occasionally he'd go out there, like, get a ball and, like, shoot and stuff. Don's got very good form. Also, like, it was funny too when we were shooting the scene where at the end where, like, he's telling the goons to sick the tunes, and he dribbled. He had a little boogie in his step. I was like, okay, Don, I see you. So, but Don's never like one to like challenge anybody or show anything like that. I mean, he'll do it on the low, never in front of a big crowd. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot. There was a couple of horse games that happened between LeBron and a lot of the mocap players. There were the mocap female players who were playing all tunes, and there were some others that were playing the goons. So they were occasionally they'd have some horse contests.
Now, the final question that I wanted to get for you before I let you go is just with this movie, there's obviously going to be a lot of expectation based on what we saw with the first one so many years ago and how that has become just an iconic kids movie that everybody grew up with. What were your goals? What are your hopes for once audiences see this here in the coming week? What do you hope for them as they come out of the theater?
Well, first of all, I hope they do go to the theater to see the movie. Space Jam: A New Legacy was built for the theatrical experience. That's what I intended for people to do, and so I hope that they go. I hope they have a great time. I think that like they can have a shared experience with their neighbors, their friends, their kids, their parents, and take away with it a good time at the movies, and also a great message of like letting children be themselves, and having people blaze their own trail. I think that that's important. I mean, even though like we as parents try to mold, guide our children in the right ways, children have to have the freedom and the support more than anything else to feel like they can try to do other things. And I think that was one of the goals that we had for the movies, was to make that message come across and resonate.
Well, certainly excited for audiences to see it. Had the opportunity to screen it myself and really enjoyed it. Malcolm, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today, and enjoy this here as audiences get to see your creation.
Can't wait.